Thank you. We might give the floor to the French Secretary of State. How do you see the future of cybersecurity? Who has to ensure this cybersecurity of networks throughout the world? Well, I would like to insist on the fact that it's not a single problem. As regards the protection of personal data, this is a threat for the individual sphere and also for corporations, quite a significant threat. And this is something that has to be given due consideration. As regards cybersecurity and cyber warfare and some of the other words that have been mentioned, and we saw the example of Estonia, so we have experienced cyber warfare in the past. Now, this may be relatively easy to solve or to overcome or to understand intellectually. Maybe not to find a solution, but at least to grasp intellectually. The thing is to know exactly what we can do. First of all, we need to differentiate between the problems. There are two types of problems. The word asymmetry was used a little earlier. So we have an asymmetrical threat. Cyber terrorism actually is merged with cyber warfare, and it's very difficult to differentiate between the two. Sometimes it's very difficult to know who's behind an attack, and the methods that are used in cyber warfare, even when they are carried out by states, are practices that resemble terrorism. It's taking over entire IT networks of computers that have been infected, that are used to attack other networks. So this is a terrorist approach, and there are two methods. Either you can infect computers and then launch an attack against Estonia, for instance, or on a given official site, you can create a service denial situation. In other words, you can generate the collapse of the network. And then there is another means, which is the use of viruses. This is a little more subtle, less visible, but probably more dangerous. As regards the first mechanism of defense, I believe, is cooperation. Cooperation to share information that we have relating to the shortcomings of the networks and to be able to overcome these difficulties together. And cooperation, it's a decentralized network, and security will be found by assuming this decentralized approach and not re-centralizing systems, including protection systems. And internet is very fragile, and I do agree with what Mr. Barrow said a little earlier, but it's less fragile than 1 or 2 years ago, because there's the replication of root servers. A few years ago there were 10 or 12 root servers that were essentially in the United States and only in the United States, but now they have been replicated or virtualized in other areas. It doesn't overcome all of the difficulties, but the fact that they were replicated or virtualized, this means that it's possible to resist a little more forcefully and a little more easily than in the past, than 1 or 2 years ago. So the decentralized nature of the network in itself is a protection. And I do believe that what we should try and look for at the global level is to be able to defend ourselves against these attacks while respecting the decentralized nature of the network, and in fact using some of the strengths of the network, which is this decentralized approach. We should be able to protect